Someone told me that when you go to Africa for the first time, you're so like overwhelmed and exhausted from the mental
just processing
overwhelm that you lose it. That you lose that, like you lose everything that's in the moment because you're so like tripped out.
I could see that.
And they're like, only later when I got home was I like
able to kind of
because like I was just overwhelmed.
I can see that. I mean, I can see there's certainly times, or even me, just the wonder of it all, you know, just gets you.
This is the MeatEater podcast coming at you shirtless, severely bug-bitten, and in my case, underwearless.
We hunt the MeatEater podcast.
You can't predict anything.
The MeatEater podcast is brought to you by First Light. Whether you're checking trail cams, hanging deer stands, or scouting for elk, First Light has performance apparel to support every hunter in every environment. Check it out at firstlight.com. FIRSTLITE.com. He was accusing me of being always sick. You are always sick. Seth's always sick. He's confusing. He's confusing who got sick.
I'm sick like once every 2 years on the
sickly
MeatEater
Seth
shoot.
is always sick.
I'm not.
Yeah, like I know you to not be an ill person.
I'm not an
Like,
ill
you have a
person.
pretty robust immune
I have
system,
allergies.
think.
It's a
Like,
bad year for
Phil,
hay
can
fever,
the
man.
show already be
I don't
started?
know.
I've been rolling for 2 minutes.
Okay,
Steve.
can you make sure it starts with clarifying that sickly Seth?
It's not true.
That sickly Seth is always sick.
I'm not always sick.
I feel like you're going to get sick in Alaska.
I was
I
just
just know
sick.
the opposite to
He's
be
over
true.
here sniffling right now.
I know.
What are you sniffling about?
He's probably got allergies because of pollen
Allergies?
is in there.
No, it is. The pollen's bad this year.
Yeah.
I think that would be rolled under sickly.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Infirm.
This is general infirmity. Our friend Morgan Potter's here.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
It's good to be back.
But by the time you're listening to this, so because of things in this world that I hate,
Like
'Cause-
what?
I think it's a long
you really
list.
want to know?
That's a long list.
I'd
No,
love to
I'm
know.
only going to focus on one thing I hate.
Okay.
In my opinion, it should just be that, like, this is effectively live.
The podcast.
Yeah,
Like as soon as it's done, it just
Immediate
drops.
release.
it's just whop.
Yeah.
And sometimes there'd be 3 shows in a week. Sometimes there'd be no shows in a week. It'd just
Phil?
be like flop.
What do we think, Phil?
Well, I've talked with Corinne about this, and I actually agree with Steve. I would love it
Yeah.
if we could do something like that. We're just beholden to many agreements and deals with people and companies, and there's a lot of moving parts. that
Great
the listeners,
companies.
yeah, of course, incredible
Phenomenal
companies.
Flop. That's the noise. That's what it is. The show, I would change the show's name to flop because that's what it would be like. A flop.
That sounds like something else. We won't go there.
By the time you're listening to this, for stupid reasons that I can't even begin to like understand, let alone explain. I've had it explained to me 20 times. I still don't understand it. You know, did we talk about this recently? In Life Aquatic,
Oh, great
With
film.
Steve
Maybe
Zissou.
you
Yeah.
did with
perhaps
the phone out.
one of the
Yeah,
top movies
great,
ever made.
Great. Fantastic.
Yeah. It's like up there with Big Lebowski.
Oh, definitely.
Someone's explaining something to his character, Bill Murray's character, and he says, I don't understand that, but it sounds like bullshit.
I ran into Bill Murray in an elevator once. I was working at a post-production, or our office was in a post-production studio. Steve, your phone's
Your
ringing.
phone's ringing.
No, it's not. How can you guys hear that?
Because we're all in the room.
Blowing out my left ear. Ran into Bill Murray in an elevator on the same day, I forget how many years ago this was, that he was on the cover, was it Vogue or another publication? He was on the cover of it. And I was holding that magazine while I stepped into an elevator together with him. We were both there, and I just kind of...
Was he cool? Did you say
Could
anything?
you think-
He was cool. No, I just looked at him and I like slowly raised the magazine cover in front of my face. so that he was staring at himself. And then we had a little chuckle and then went our separate ways. That was
that's pretty fun.
That was my Bill Murray encounter.
He's one of the ones that I like. You want to hope he's cool.
Yeah,
in the wild,
he is,
he probably is.
In
the wild.
Morgan Potter, he's an Australian, as you can tell. Hey, do for us your American accent.
No, I can't do it.
Why not?
Oh, it's bad.
I want to hear it.
No, I can't do it.
What is your
refuse?
What part of the country is your American accent?
We can all do our Australian for you.
South?
Ooh, I've heard a couple of the Australians earlier before you walked in this door. Well, it was Kiwi actually, not so great. You guys should probably refrain from that.
do him. Goof on him.
That's not a knife.
Yeah. See, you've got a lot of material. I mean, I have a deal. I have a deal with my children that when they can do, because they've grown up here, when they can do a passable Australian accent, I'll like give them a day off school, get them ice cream, whatever they want. They've failed to.
They can't do it. I could maybe Randall could give them some pointers.
Yeah,
goof on him a minute, Randall.
Oh, now you're putting me on the spot.
Well, just do that's not a knife.
This used to be a penal colony.
No, that's no good. No, that's no bueno. See, my American would be
shaming him.
Yeah.
No rules.
We did this with Southerners one time, and the Southerners would do their Northern accent for us.
Yeah.
And then, but we wouldn't do our Southern accent for them.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not doing that.
No, I'm
and when they do their Northern accent, they do everybody as Wisconsin.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Two fillets per salmon, huh? That's how they do like a Yankee. And they're like, well, do your Southern for me. And I'm like, I'm not doing my Southern for you.
Yeah. I wouldn't know where to begin. I love a good regional accent, though. Australia doesn't really have that. So I like that America has like regional variation. I appreciate that a lot. But
well, do one. Just do a quick one.
No, I can't.
When you're telling your stories, when you're telling stories to friends back home and you have an American talking, I do it in Australian?
Sometimes. If I've been drinking, it's a little early for that. If I've been drinking, sometimes
do it in American.
I just can't. I flat refuse.
Fair enough. That's not nice.
What? Good on, mate.
Yeah.
What'd you say? Was that good?
Get him, Seth. Get him.
It was. Yeah.
I get
something.
I get my haircut at VIP here right here close.
Oh yeah.
And I'm in there getting my haircut, and kind of like, if he's listening, with all due respect, kind of like a crazy looking guy walks in. Just looks like he's been camping a long time.
Yeah.
And not crazy, but just looks like he's been on a long hot camping trip.
Yeah.
And he comes in and he asks if he can get a quick trim.
Yeah.
And he's clearly Australian.
Oh.
So he sits down, and there's two guys, Kevin and Jake. And Kevin's cutting my hair, and Jake is waiting for his next guy. And he's like, well, if it's quick, I'll do it. So he asks him, where's the accent from? And he says, Australia. And Jake asks him, like the same thing I would have done. Is there any crocodiles nearby? To which he points out that those are well north of him.
Yeah.
And then... And then he asks him what he does for fun.
Yeah.
And the guy says, well, we hunt a lot of pigs. And then I kind of perk up at this.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he goes, are you the guy from MeatEater?
Oh, that's funny.
Great. Yeah,
I thought I was the only one.
No,
around.
he was in town for work.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He's in town for work. He said he's here. I didn't catch what he was working on, but he's sent here, and he's got 2-3 months of stuff he's got to do.
I'll bet it's mining or something.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say I'm sure, but whatever it was, it looks hot.
Yeah, I'll bet.
He came in looking hot.
Yeah. Mining checks out.
By the time you're listening to this, for reasons I cannot explain, I will be with Morgan Potter, who's sitting here right now. We will be like an alternate universe. We will be in Tanzania hunting for Cape buffalo. If you want to reflect back on how all this came to be, go back to episode 446, which was called "When an African Cape Buffalo Beats Your Butt." Did we call it that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We didn't call it "Beats Your Ass." Beats your butt.
Yeah, because buffalo
Censorship.
thing,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
When an African Cape buffalo beats your butt.
So it was just for alliteration purposes.
Yeah, I
Is what
got
you're
it.
saying.
Nothing to do
I
with
think we
cleaning.
went back and forth between ass and butt.
Nothing to do with
Landed
cleaning
on
her up.
butt.
So we're gonna come around and talk about that in a little bit. I'm getting excited.
Oh, me too.
I just read a whole
gonna be
book
huge.
about Cape buffalo that wound up oddly
It's
not being
happening
about
now.
Cape buffalo.
Which one?
It's happening right now.
I am. It's
Well,
true.
Yeah.
You're having the time of your life.
What if,
Do we
by
need
the
to do
time, what if by the time this comes out, I'm not excited?
Yeah, you're like, this sucks.
And then I'm listening to
No, you
this,
won't.
and I'm like, but that's not true.
I have to
Yeah.
re-record
No,
it.
there's a low chance, low risk of that, I would say. Very low risk. What's the book that is not about Cape buffalo that purports to be?
Well, it's by the late writer. So we a long time ago had on a writer, Thomas McIntyre.
Oh, yeah, I know him. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Well, no,
Did you know
of
he
him.
passed away?
I did know that.
I didn't know that.
Oh,
I was
really?
talking about I was telling Corinne to get him back on the show,
Oh, dear.
and then it turns out he had passed away.
Oh, yeah. No.
Not terribly old.
Yeah, no, not terribly old. Yeah, poor guy.
It's Thunder Without Rain.
I've read it a long time ago.
Yeah. But you know how? Well, no, because it only came out a year ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Thunder
Oh,
Without
okay.
Rain.
Oh, maybe I haven't.
It came out posthumously.
Okay. Is it like an anthology, like a collection of stories?
No,
Okay,
no.
all original material.
But it's just like how Brodigan's trout fishing in America
Uh-huh.
isn't about trout fishing in America.
Gotcha.
Which is really disappointing.
There's a great line about trout
Is it
fishing.
about love? Is it like a romance?
No. No, it's a nonfiction book. He just now and then, and I can say this because he's, no longer with us. For sometimes for like 75 pages, he'll forget that it's about Cape buffalo.
Yeah. And he'll be just talking about whatever, or is it more like
he
about
he does a big, so he at one point feels the need to sort of talk about movies that might tangentially involve Cape buffalo. So he spends a lot of time on like a lot of his generation that were interested in Africa. They're very interested in Hemingway.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
So
Everyone, yeah.
rather than talk about Hemingway's run-ins with Cape buffalo,
Right,
he decides just to do a mega bio
of Ernest Hemingway.
on Hemingway.
Gotcha.
Or out of Africa. He has to talk about that.
Mm.
So then he does a mega bio on like everyone down to the financiers.
Oh, as opposed to the
Parts
characters
of it-
that it was based on,
Yes.
he is like talking about the film.
He
Okay.
alludes to them, but he forgets that he forgets the hook
Right. And so then he's talking about the cinematographers and whatnot and kind of just doesn't.
and just for long stretches of
Wow,
time
okay.
forgets about the subject
tough,
at hand.
tough.
But then now and then comes back to it in remarkable fashion.
Yeah.
Sounds familiar.
I think I've flicked through this book.
Yes, but I don't write that way. I don't write that way.
His writing style is kind of unique. I think I flicked through this book, and as I recall, there was a good chunk of it dedicated to like the evolutionary history of Cape buffalo
liked all that.
and their relationship with other
I liked all that.
bovids. Yeah.
That
Good
was
stuff.
the part I liked. And here's the
Interesting.
deal: if I was just sitting down looking to read a book,
Yeah.
I would like it. But I
Sure.
was sitting down looking to like get a big
full
load of
bottle
Cape
on-
buffalo
yeah.
info rather than reading the Wikipedia page, which I've read twice.
For the cinematographers of out of
Yeah,
Africa.
and so like my needs as a reader are not being adequately met by the book.
Right.
My needs as a cinephile
Yeah, totally checking that box.
have been satisfied.
yeah, no
but
doubt.
I was reading it to cram for our trip.
Yeah. No, I think I can recommend some other reading, but yeah, the thing about Cape buffalo is I was kind of, I read Hemingway and all that stuff. I mean, I've read, a huge amount of literature and nonfiction related to African hunting, but I think nothing can kind of adequately prepare you for like seeing your first one.
Oh, yeah.
It's so cool. I still remember the first one I ever saw, and I just being like, "That's the coolest thing."
I want to get charged bad, man.
You say that now.
I've been looking at a lot of videos. My buddy just sent me a video of some guys getting beat up by one the other day.
I'll tell you,
yeah.
the crew that's going to be with you does not want to get
Yeah,
charged.
but that's where I wanted to actually get hit, though.
Seth and I will be on the side.
So, what is your
Taking pictures.
if you had to, I mean, other than just the ferocity of the animal from those charge videos, what would be your kind of like main takeaway? as far as just like how it all goes down.
Just that.
Yeah.
Because picture that here. I don't necessarily want to get charged, but like, I was talking to my buddy yesterday. We was sitting in my office. And my buddies hunted him a couple times.
Yeah.
And they had an instance, no charge, but they were. He said the trackers are tracking.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, a guy holds his hand up.
Yeah.
And touches his ear, and he said they've been following him for a good part of a day.
Yeah.
And they can hear somehow their trajectory on the track, like for whatever reason, something out ahead of them had bumped them or something.
Gotcha.
So he said they're going and they're following the trail, but all of a sudden you can hear them and they're coming at a good clip.
Swirled, maybe.
Like something just happened and they're coming.
Yep.
And so he says they're way off, and then they're like in their lap, right?
Yep.
And shoots one at 30 yards.
Nice. Good range to shoot one at.
In their lap.
Yeah.
So then he's like that scratched the itch.
Oh, I'll bet.
Because he's like, I was worried that it would be that like, oh, I could, through the brush, I could kind of make out like a shoulder blade and someone saying, go,
like,
go, go.
Give it to it, yeah.
And then you shoot and it's dead and you never you never were in its presence.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he felt like he was so happy to have it that they were like there.
Yeah, it was exciting. Yeah, you got that close up.
They were there
without the sort of absolutely trying to kill you aspect of it.
Yep.
Yeah, I think
he said they were oblivious to their presence.
Right,
but still, he's like you could still just like feel it.
Yeah, feel the intensity of being that close to them. Yeah, I mean that's kind of what I endeavor to do on safari is get people a number of those kind of like interactions.
Yeah.
Whether you end up shooting one, whether it's you just kind of get up on a herd to just get a look at what's in there. We typically don't shoot from herds if we can avoid it, but yeah, just having that experience of being close to them is definitely, it's a big part of it. The charge piece is far less desirable from my standpoint.
I want you to know I'm mostly joking.
No, I know. I picked that up. No, for sure. No, but look, I'm not going to pretend.
I've had like little mix-ups with like minor mix-ups with grizzly bears up close, and I wouldn't give away as much as you try to avoid it. As much as you try to avoid it in hindsight.
Right.
I wouldn't sacrifice any of those experiences in hindsight.
But
no, for sure.
Well.
And I'm not going to pretend like the prospect of a charge isn't part of the appeal of hunting Cape buffalo. Yeah. Of course it is. It's
how many grizzly bear attack people have we interviewed? And when I say to them, it's my two favorite questions in the world is a person that has wild pig problems. I say, if you could wave a magic wand and all the wild pigs would be gone, would you wave it? They always say, no, not all of them.
Yeah.
And then people like, do you wish it wouldn't have happened?
Right.
And people have a hard time saying they wish it wouldn't have happened. The survivors have a hard time saying, they're like, it's who I am now.
Mm-hmm.
It's an
because they are survivors.
Yeah, for sure. But it's a
good point, Phil. Because they're here with us. Yeah.
I mean, it's a way. It's like a time and a place where you feel something that I think outside of certain other like walks of life, like being maybe a firefighter or a cop or something like that, you get a kind of range of
carp.
What's that? A cop? Okay, here we go. Here we go. Yeah, no, I mean, other than those sort of
carp. That's more English, isn't it? Cop.
Yeah, that was way English.
I mean, we can go back and forth.
Like a 3-year-old. Firefighter.
I'm sorry, man. Go on.
Yeah. No. So outside of sort of that narrow range of professions, you get a sort of a series of emotions and feelings that you're just not really going to get elsewhere in day-to-day life. And I
think
that's
a good way to think
appeal.
about it.
Yeah, that's part of the appeal. And then it leaves like an indelible mark on you. It kind of changes your perspective on stuff.
How many times in your career have you felt like, to whatever degree something actually happened, how many times in your career have you felt like a threat from Cape buffalo?
A threat? Well, there's certainly been times, I used to hunt, and I still do hunt in the Cape buffalo in the montane forests of northern Tanzania. It's very high elevation, kind of these mountains that come out of the Rift Valley. and it's very dense vegetation. It's almost like you could. The layman's term, you call it like almost like jungle.
Okay.
And you do inevitably get quite close to them in there, either deliberately or by accident. You'll bump into herds in this kind of very, very dense type stuff. And you'll have situations where cows with calves and that will kind of come out and like bluff charge you or sort of like run in your direction. And then, a buffalo herd, sometimes they'll sort of circle up and like move a little closer to you, particularly in the evenings. As part of sort of like a defensive posture that they kind of create. So I've certainly been intimidated by Cape buffalo a lot, but times where I could say that I was genuinely at risk of like serious injury or death, probably less than 10, more than 5.
How many years?
15.
So we got a 33% chance. Well, no, because you're doing it a bunch of times every year.
Yeah, I'm doing a lot of trips a year. It's not one trip a year.
Seth is breathing a sigh of relief for that.
Yeah, it's not that lucrative. But yeah, it's So coming back to your charge videos, my kind of takeaway from them is a lot of them have a little more chaos than I would typically want to see.
Yeah,
particularly if I was running the deal. But everyone can sort of armchair quarterback these things. But the other one is just how difficult it is to adequately prepare yourself for that moment. Like even as a professional hunter, how difficult it is to override like the natural brain chemistry impulses that you get under that kind of stress. Like it's just. Yeah. I look at the guy's body language. I look at like how they like what they're doing, and I could just see, because I've been in that situation. I could just feel like what they're feeling, Yeah. And to me, it's like a mixture of like you get this huge rush of adrenaline, right? But you also get like this fight or flight thing. And I think what happens is there's a part of your brain that like looks at the size and power of the thing and is like fights off the table. It's a flight. This is a flight deal.
After careful analysis.
Yeah, after careful analysis, I've decided that this is a flight deal. But the reality of it is you have to override that, because you're really your best and pretty much only chance of survival, with some exceptions, is to just stand as still as you can and make a serviceable shot that's gonna knock that thing down or turn it.
Because running, you're just going to get hit in the
you're going to
back.
get flattened. Yeah, you're going to get flattened. Trying to dodge, too, they've got incredible ability to sort of readjust their course.
And they got hooks.
They got hooks, yeah.
So he's got whatever, 36, 40 inches of
40 inches of spread of reach, which, if he moves his neck, he can sort of rapidly readjust that to where they'll grab you. And they get you with those hooks. That's what kills you.
Picture him getting Seth, man.
Just flicking him. Just see him just cartwheeling through the air.
Dirt rides off on its back.
Yeah. There was one recently where a guy was like kind of flicked up and on its back. I saw a video of that. It's rough. But I mean, again, I can sit here and say all these things, but in the moment, it's tough. Really tough.
Randall and I are working on a project right now. We do this. Have you heard of our stuff, MeatEater's American History? We did the Long Hunters and the Mountain Men. We're doing the Buffalo Hunters right now.
Yeah. The Long Hunters one, that was fascinating to me. I really enjoyed that.
Oh, good. It's good. We're doing Buffalo Hunters, so
nice.
the commercial Buffalo hide hunters particularly. Yep. Mm-hmm. There's a couple of instances there where guys are getting, in that case, where guys get trampled or tore up by American buffalo,
right?
American bison. What's happening to them is they got a dozen of them on the ground.
Right.
But unbeknownst to them, one is...
it's the dead ones that kill you.
Yeah, it's stunned.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's
say,
like whatever.
Yeah.
And they're in there doing their work, and all of a sudden it's
up.
It's up and, in their midst.
Yeah.
And there's a handful of accounts like this, but there's one we saw where the guy, and all of it winds up on it, because it's the only way to get clear of its horns.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he gets like on it.
Oh, really? Sort of like grabs onto the fur.
So that it can't.
Yeah, it can't get him. Yeah, it's like grabbing the tail, I guess, of you know what I mean?
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I think there is a mention of that too. A guy that got one's tail, but a guy wound up being like that. Sort of he wound up and trying to get out of its way, got on it, and then I can't remember. He rode it till it collapsed or whatever the hell he did.
Yeah, my favorite one is the guy jumps on his horse and then accidentally shoots his horse in the,
Oh, dear.
in the chaos.
Oh dear. Yeah, I always imagined that buffalo hunting, you know, in the American West is like a longer range kind of pursuit, you know, with those Sharps rifles and all
these
that
guys,
kind of stuff.
Yeah, these guys they're like in their preferred setup. They were 200-300 yards away.
Right. And is that, I mean, obviously they were capable marksmen, but is that because the herd would just behave differently?
Yeah.
They're
They're relying
sort of
on a level of confusion.
Right.
They're relying on the herd not really understand where the shooting's coming from.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And then a thing that really surprised me about in all this research is 2 shots per animal was good.
Okay.
You'd brag about it.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, you'd
All
brag
right,
about
2
2 shots per animal.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would have assumed. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay.
There's accounts of guys making a stalk and then realizing they're too close and backing out another 150 yards or something, like Seth did with his coos deer.
Yep.
Not intentionally. Not intentionally.
The philosophy of these guys,
Yeah.
and it like evolves, but the hunting philosophy of them is that whatever one seems to be, there's a drift to the group or whatever. So whatever one seems to be the point,
Yeah.
they like to wound it.
Oh, the lead animal. Okay. Yeah. And then
Wound
the
it.
sort of rudderless, the herd's rudderless.
And then you watch, and whoever seems most inclined
to take charge,
to leave,
wound that one.
Yep. And then whoever seems most inclined to leave, and then hitting them in a way that they don't run. And what's kind of gruesome about it is they would sometimes intentionally hit them in front of the hips.
Yeah, there's one guy who likes to shoot them in front of the hips, so they just arch their backs and kind of
Just stand
stagger
there.
around.
Because then the other ones are like, well, he's not leaving.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, so they're like this one. Yeah,
But it's still standing here. Do you know what I mean? There's a real
different ethic, huh? Different.
There's
kind
no,
of-
you know, the thing we've observed. I'm not going to talk about this too much right now because we'll talk about it a lot more later. But the thing we've observed is, out of the long hunters, you have like American heroes.
Yeah.
Daniel Boone.
Yeah.
Primarily.
Yeah.
Out of the mountain men, you have Jim Bridger.
Yep.
The hide hunters produce no heroes.
Yeah. Sort of a
They
more of a
produce
rough cut.
They produce no heroes.
Yeah, I can see
There's
that.
no American hero spun out of that gang.
It took a different sort.
Yeah.
Took more of a rogue. Well, yeah, rogues
Just
maybe
like
the wrong term.
just there's a
Someone
wickedness to
willing
it. I mean,
get
like
down and dirty.
yeah, it's just like their skill set and all that, and their toughness is like undeniable. It's like unparalleled what they could endure, but there's just a brutality that emerges that you don't.
Yeah, a sort of like a
And
little
an
bit
awareness.
of an ethical gap.
And an awareness, like an intense, deliberate, spoken awareness that you're getting them all.
It's a whole
Like
thing.
they knew, by and large, they knew exactly what they were doing.
Yeah. That's
And by and large, did not care. It's just a different gang, man. A different gang.
You know, a lot of the great African professional hunters of last century were at different times kind of doubled as like game control officers, or were given the task of eradicating a large amount of game, either to make way for agriculture or human settlement, relocating different tribal groups or white settlement in East Africa. And yeah, it's interesting how they could kind of go. I definitely wouldn't suggest at all that they were able to kind of go as down and dirty as those buffalo guys, like intentionally wounding stuff. I wouldn't suggest that was kind of part of the program, but they were able to make this transition from being a very ethical, very kind of very much focused on adhering to ethical constraints and game laws and things like that, to going and kind of culling large numbers of elephant and buffalo and other species to kind of make way for agriculture, and then kind of seamlessly transition back into very selective a lot of kind of European sensibilities to it, kind of professional hunting.
Yeah,
which is interesting to me.
And what year was that crop of guys coming up? Is that like the guys that were emerging around that sort of heyday, that kind of like Hemingway heyday of the 30s and 40s? And
for sure, right up until, so I would say from the early sort of pre-First World War, right up until the kind of the heyday of the 50s, and then
so the heyday was post. I was stupid to say the 30s and 40s because the heyday was post World War II.
Well, there was sort of two. I mean, it depends on how you look at it. There was, to me, kind of defining the heyday is difficult because there was different things that were good about different eras. The 1890s were incredible as far as...
That was like Theodore Roosevelt.
Yeah, well, his was 1909, I think, was his safari. And so, just before that, things were... Africa was so unexplored and so wild. But on the, the downside of that era was your firearm technology wasn't, where it was post after the First World War. And then also, your risk of dying of some tropical disease or whatever was massive. End of the First World War was a real golden age because the British then acquired what was then Tanganyika, which is now Tanzania, and sort of added that to their territory that they could hunt. And there was a lot of kind of exploration and opening up of that country, which is fascinating. And obviously, the firearm technology had come a long way, as had medical stuff. And then you have the arrival of the motor car in the 30s, which really changed the game as far as where you could get. And that was kind of what precipitated a lot of the change where even the East African Professional Hunters Association saw the writing on the wall that safari was going to go in a totally different direction because it would open up this possibility for a new clientele that had less time to dedicate it to it. Yeah. Like the Roosevelt Safari was a full year because there was, they had some trucks and that for getting, but there was no roads, the motor cars weren't widely available. So a lot of it was just on foot. They would go out and hundreds of porters carrying their gear and just kind of march out into the wilderness. Whereas the motor car changed it where you could have shorter duration safaris, you could get places quicker, you could, the logistical aspect of it was more kind of under control. And then, the arrival of the airplane. So, that really allowed people from the US and, Europe as well to kind of, it just became more accessible.
Speaking of the airplane, you know what I can't get into?
What's that?
The book you got me onto.
Oh,
West with the Night.
Yeah, West with the Night. You can't get into it.
Dude, I'm struggling.
Really? Oh,
struggling.
Man. You don't like Beryl's writing style?
No, style.
Interesting.
I don't like her as a stylist.
Yeah.
I didn't know there's a little bit of controversy that there's like some people say that she didn't
write it. Yeah.
I don't know if I believe that or not. I mean, it's not. It doesn't look to me
it's
like
neither
that hard
here
to write.
nor there. Yeah. I think her achievements don't. It doesn't take if she didn't write it, doesn't take anything away from her achievements.
It happens to women because that there's an argument that Harper Lee didn't write To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yeah,
that it was written by Truman Capote.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Anyhow, can't get into it.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. It's a great book, but
no, it's not.
Well, it's a matter of opinion, Steve. No, she was.
I appreciate the gift.
She was an impressive woman. There's no question about it.
For sure.
And in an era where, to your point, I mean, even the great Karen Blixen wrote under the sort of pseudonym of Isaac Dinesen when she first published Out of Africa.
What?
Yeah.
God, I think I should have learned that from the book the other disappointing.
Well, I'm surprised he didn't go into those nuances.
You know what we gotta do? Chili.
Yes, sir.
Chili has a hunting story to share with us.
Mm-hmm. Oh, good.
A New Zealand hunt. Do a New Zealand accent.
It's so hard. I mean, like,
well, you can't because then you got to use the C word every other word.
Yeah, that's the hard part.
One.
That was probably the funnest part about being down there.
You know what the difference is?
When I came home from there,
They use that word a lot?
Oh yeah, every other word.
No.
When I came home from there, I had to I made the mistake. I made the mistake one time of arguing with my wife.
Oh,
yeah.
dear, no.
Well, I didn't. No.
Oh, and you,
no.
you mean
You didn't
went,
call
You
her.
didn't
We
deploy.
deployed. You just
assumed
deployed.
We've
the-
talked about this
Listen.
on the podcast before.
Yeah.
It doesn't go
you
over well here.
assumed the energy of a kiwi. Is that like?
Well, yeah, it's just
Yeah,
like
you
they-
can't do their thing because their thing it's like their thing relies on like how we use the word and a lot.
Mm-hmm.
They use the C word.
Yeah. But it's a term of endearment, really.
Oh, it's everything.
It's not like
It's much more universal. Than
yeah.
here,
I mean, like there's ways that they say it. Like if you were to get called like a right C word, like if they called you that, like
Right,
oh he's being a
sure.
right whatever, then like you're in the crosshairs.
I mean, I recently binged Mobland, and they're Irish, and they use it every other word.
Yeah.
But I guess I've not
I said it the other
heard
day here
that
in Bozeman. Like, I was just
in
like, oh, that
person.
yeah, I know it's a terrible thing. That's why I can't go back.
That's no good.
I'd go back just to be able to say it.
no
That's
good.
great. But yeah, I don't know if I could do the accent. Like, hey, bro, how you going?
You know what the
Like, being
difference
the-
No,
is
it's great.
between that and Australian? It's that they sort of flatten their vowels. So, like, I would say chips, and they'd say chups.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Chips and
I
salsa.
feel like they also they're more like kind of calm about it. Like they're like
They're
they
very
speak
they're
softly.
much more low key.
Do yours
Yeah.
again with more confidence.
Hey, bro, how you going?
I don't think that's something different. That's like a guy I wouldn't want to hang
I can
out
do
with.
the Australian. Like if
Hey,
I mean,
bro. You think, hey bro, is New Zealand?
Is it more of a
Hey bro,
Hey, bro.
say, hey, bro.
yeah. Listen, I want you to call up your buddy when he answers the phone. I want you to go, hey bro,
I don't know.
and then ask him, what do you think I'm doing right now?
I spent 13 days there. I'm not going to be like a subject matter expert.
Hey bro, he's not gonna say I think you'd be in New Zealand.
No,
Hey, bro.
No, Zane, my
This
good
is
buddy.
why I declined to do the
Yeah.
American accent.
He
Hit
said
it again. Hit it again real quick.
I can't. Jesus. I got to think of like a word or like a phrase.
Yeah, don't do. Hey bro.
All I can think of is just lines from Flight of the Conchords.
That's all I'm thinking of right now.
Just like
Band meeting.
so is like if
Did
we're
we
talking
get
about
a
hunting, it'd be
gig?
like so we're gonna go over there. I can't do it.
So
But
very effeminate.
I know,
Yeah,
but they
you
talk
are
like they
doing-
talk.
So
They
we're gonna
talk.
go over there.
That
They
might
talk
have just been
softly,
the guys you were with.
We're
though.
gonna go
Probably.
over there. Hey, bro.
Yeah, I'm gonna get hemmed up. I know I am. Zane's gonna watch this and he's gonna call me a right.
Yeah.
Well, you won't be.
I know, man. You don't need to talk like New Zealand. That's
Yeah.
fine.
But yeah, we went to New Zealand for 13 days to do a public land tar hunt. That was the main goal.
Yep.
For me.
Can you enlighten me about tar?
Yeah, so I guess like the best way I could describe tar to somebody like that hunts a lot in North America would be to describe them as like kind of like they're very similar to like a North American mountain goat.
Yep.
So, like that's how I
Yeah.
describe them. Like same kind of environment.
Same horns, kind of.
But weird,
kinda,
weird
yeah.
bald faces.
Yeah, weird bald faces, huge mane, like kind of like a lion's mane on their torso. And based off of like how old they are or whatever, like that the horns and the mane will change. Like the older they get, I think the more blonde. From what I was described or what I was told, is like the older they get, the more blonde. Like I don't know if
Sun bleach.
there'll be some pictures I think Phil will throw up there. But the funny thing about
If you want to see those pictures, tune into Radio Live that aired several weeks ago, because that's what we'll be talking about.
oh okay, you can put it on live. Sweet. I don't know.
Sorry, Chili.
No, you're good. Yeah, like well, I'll get into it, but from the tar that I shot, it was about a 5.5-year-old. The horns have rings, kind of like your bighorn sheep, so that's how you kind of age them. And the tar that I shot was about 5.5, but it was super blonde. And Zane told me, he's like, I've never seen a 5.5-year-old with that color of a mane. So I thought that was kind of cool. When I shot mine, there was a darker and older tar bull. They call them bulls and nannies. He was right next to the one I shot, and but for some reason I just found this one to be a lot more pretty. And I was more interested in the one that I shot. So
Did you say they call them? So it's I didn't remember this.
Yeah.
It's bulls and nannies, not billies and nannies, not bulls and cows.
it's bulls and nannies. Yep,
okay.
bulls and nannies. Yep, and then that's. But yeah, so we.
Oh, there you go.
That.
Yeah,
Chili
look
looked
at that.
looked good.
Yeah.
Nice one.
Yeah. So
That's great.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
you can
that's beautiful.
You
I know
can-
you sent me some photos, but looking at it here,
God, it looks
it's
like the American Alpine too, man.
And I-
got a darker face and then really blonde.
You talking about chili or the animal?
Yeah. It's my spirit animal.
Your hair and the hair on that thing's oddly
coloring
similar.
look the same.
I know.
Yeah,
That's probably
that's
why
right.
I liked it
The
so
southern
much.
hemisphere
point,
looks good
Seth.
on you, chili.
It does. I also want to point out that that's not where I shot that thing. We're kind of like in the river bottom. We had to get that thing flown out because we couldn't physically get there.
Flown out. Oh, that's very helpful.
What are you
I would
talking about?
love to get.
Well,
mine.
so like I
It
shot
fell where you couldn't retrieve it.
well,
critters flown
yeah,
out.
like we thought we could get up there from where we were standing. And then so I shot it. So we get up to where we wanted to find these tar, and we found them pretty early in the morning, hoping they would come back down, but they never did. And when I shot, I hit it. I showed Zane the photos and the video of me shooting it, and he goes, "I don't think that we're going to be able to get up there." And
Is that what this picture is, Chili? You pointing up there?
Yeah. So like my body's kind of in front of the mountaintop, but we thought we would be able to zigzag our way up there and at least try to locate it the next day, because I think I shot it with about an hour left of daylight left. But I showed Zane, he's like, yeah, it's not worth it. So the next morning, Scott from Heli Rural Flights, he came out and he picked it up. And so he had to get it. And like when Zane got back after they dropped it off back at camp, Zane was like, there's absolutely no way you were to get up there. Because I shot it and it fell pretty much on this ice shelf. And Zane said if it would have like slid 2 more yards, it would have kind of went all the way to the bottom and you would have been able to get it. But he's like, if on foot, there's just absolutely no way. So, but
Oh, that's sweet. That's your camp.
Were you on the eastern or the western side of the Alps?
We were on the eastern side.
Eastern side.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I've
And-
done that hunt. Grueling.
Yeah, and just that's such a pretty place. I mean, we didn't have a lot of options to like where we could go. I mean, that super green side, kind of off to my left there, that was like the main mountain we were hunting. But sorry, my watch is going crazy. But we could kind of go around to the right in between the snow-capped mountain and the green side mountain there. We go up there, but there's a glacier in between those two mountains, and there's a great glacier off my right shoulder too. So we couldn't really go anywhere other than straight up the mountain or off to the left. So we were kind of limited, but it was just unreal country. Like, yeah, we drank water from the glacier on the glacial rivers. Like that was super fun. That was from where I shot, and down at the bottom, you can see the kind of scree field. That's where we were camping. Yeah, super abrasive and super like intimidating country. Like I knew it was going to be tough, but I don't think I was like mentally prepared as much as I should have been.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was a great trip. A lot of fun stories. That was definitely like a hunt of a lifetime for me. It was interesting learning about like tar and like how they hunt down there, and like private land, public land, and all that stuff. Like there is public. There's kind of like 3 main ways to hunt. You got like your kind of your game ranches, which would be like your CA ranch or your Galt ranch, staying at a lodge, hunting private land. And then you got your public, and then you got like free range private. So the guys will like, if you want to shoot a stag, guide will buy the stag and then put it out on private, and then you just go hunt it. So,
Hold on, say that again. Oh yeah, I got you.
You know what I mean?
Put and take type
Yeah.
deal. Yeah.
Yeah, which is what 2 of the guys did for the stag and fallow. So, but that was fun to kind of do that. Like I didn't hunt stag or fallow, but
And you didn't run in any chamois. Chamois.
Not on. No. When there was a guy that was with us, and he opted in to shoot a private land tar via helicopter, and so he just got flown in and hunted a tar that way. They said that when they were doing that, they saw some chamois on this private land, but I wasn't with them at the time. And but yeah, apparently they're kind of the numbers of tar and chamois, from what I was told, in the area that we were in, are kind of getting decimated.
But that's intentional because they helicopter gun them to reduce the numbers.
Well, yeah. So Zane called it Tarmageddon back in the day.
Yeah.
There was just so many tar, and they made like the helo hunting legal, and like you could do that, and so they just like absolutely decimated the population. And you could argue, I mean, that's good and bad because they were overrunning and they were very much overpopulated. But when I talked to like Zane, he goes, yeah, it kind of makes it like hard when you have clients and you're going into a public spot. Like we probably saw, I don't know, 20 tar up on top of this mountain. And he goes, well, you told us, he's like 10 years ago, there'd be hundreds on this mountain.
Yeah.
And so like, yeah, you could argue both sides of the story. But yeah, from what Zane was saying, is like he's not seeing the numbers that he would like to see.
There's often that tension with places, Australia, speaking for your homeland, New Zealand, Hawaii, okay, where you have non-native populations of game, and you have like the environmental movement, or more like kind of like the radical end of the environmental movement wants to see them all eliminated, which puts them in an odd position because they're arguing for, it's like they're arguing for like sort of the death of the animals, pointing out that they're non-native. And then you have the hunters who are like being like, yeah, control is fine, but I don't want them eliminated, because by this point you have a century or more of people who've grown up with the resource.
Yep.
You hear like, it's pretty common there, and you get it in Hawaii where there's groups will buy, like preservation groups will buy stuff and they want the goats gone, the sheep gone, the hogs gone. And then you got like Hawaiian dudes who hunt and they're on the end of being like, man, you're kind of like destroying our resource.
Yeah.
And we don't really care if they're technically native or non-native or whatever. They're here. They've been here. We've always hunted them. My grandpa hunted them. Don't tell me they don't belong.
Yeah. Yeah. Like Zane, I think like the big issue down there, Zane called them greenies, but their argument is that there's where they like what the tar eat. And then in tar's case, they're eating like vegetation. They're destroying like a plant and taking it out. So yeah, when Tarmageddon happened, that was like the main argument was like, well, they're destroying this plant and this grassland.
And plant biodiversity. That's the argument in Hawaii too, is like plant biodiversity.
Yeah. And I think you just got to have a certain level of conservation when it comes to that. You can't like decimate the population, but you can't just like let them run free too. So you got to be.
Well, and I don't know how well Himalayan tar are doing in their native range either. It would be a shame to lose that population. And I mean, it's certainly, I don't know if there is a huntable population of them in their native range. There might be.
Yeah,
in a couple of places,
looking at
but
southern Tibet, northern India, western Bhutan, and Nepal.
Yeah,
that's the native range.
Yeah, and I wonder if there is a huntable population there. I'm not sure, but I somehow doubt that if there is, it's very large. So it's important, I think, to have that kind of repository of genetics there in New Zealand. But yeah, that preservationist kind of impulse to just like get rid of it, take it back, especially in a place like New Zealand that has no native mammal, seems a little strong.
Yeah, it's either super far left or super far right. I mean, but I don't know. As far as like the hunting goes, like it was tough and it wasn't like ideal from Zane's perspective, but it was still like a really great hunt. Like watching tar, like just up on top of these mountains and doing their thing. Like it was unreal. Like I said, trip of a lifetime.
Well, your observation about mountain goats, it's like more likely that's even more like mountain goats, the numbers you saw.
Yeah.
You're not going to climb up and be like, oh, there's 200 billies up there.
Right.
Like you're like chasing like a billy or two.
Right.
And
it obviously depends on like what sort of like where you're at, like one area is going to have a bunch of them and the next might not, right? It's typical for any sort of hunting that you do. But yeah, I guess I kind of had this false narrative, like going into New Zealand, I've never paid for a hunt like this. I've never done anything like this. And so I kind of had this ideology that like, I'm going to go there and I'm going to be looking at 200 tar every single day.
Oh.
And I quickly learned that was not the case. but I mean, it was more authentic. I would say, like, I got like, obviously I was in New Zealand, but I felt like I was back here in Montana, like, trying to find an elk or a bear or something like that, which I enjoyed. It made it feel a lot more genuine.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it was a good job.
Yeah, well done.
Good work, Chili.
Yeah.
Do you get to bring, what do you get to bring back and not bring back and eat or try or not?
So you can bring, to my knowledge, you can bring the meat back. We did not. We ate a lot of it down there for days, but then we just donated the meat. The reason being, like, is just, like, bags were super expensive. I would probably had to bring 3 additional bags, and like just for 2 bags down there, it was already $400.
How'd it taste?
Oh, it was good. I mean, there's nothing about it that was just like, if I were to eat this again, like, this is tar.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was like red meat. It was, wild game meat. But I thought it was good. I'd definitely eat it again.
Adjacent to anything else you've tried? Like,
nothing really stood out to me about it. Like, I mean, like, it wasn't that much. Like, I would probably say, close. I mean, I don't know, maybe like an elk-ish, but like not like, if you have like a really good elk, like, it's elk. I'd say it's like your average elk.
Okay.
I mean, to me. But yeah, as far as like what we can bring back, like I'm going to bring back like the hide. I'm going to get a shoulder mount, and then I'm going to keep the Euro mount as well. So I'll replicate the horns, put those on the shoulder mount, and then keep the Euro mount. But yeah,
who's going to stuff it for you?
Well, see, I'm going to talk to John Hayes.
Yeah. He's stuffing a couple things for us right now.
Yeah. Hayes Taxidermy. I'm going to talk to him. I don't really have a taxidermy guy because I don't even have a shoulder mount. All my Euro mounts I do myself. Oh. So like, this is a whole new experience for me as well. So
he's going to do that big beaver.
Yeah.
And then the Boston with the Boys guys, they want that beaver done. Like, what do they call that? 3-point stance in football?
Yeah.
They want a beaver done in a 3-point football stance.
Oh, wow.
And then he's going to stuff my, he's going to do the rug with my kid's first bear.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Wall hanger rug.
Gotcha.
Stuffed in head.
I wanted to do a wall hanger rug like that mountain goat there, but.
Well, that's what I have. You ever hear the writer Ben Wallace?
I have not.
You ever hear the book, The Billionaire's Vinegar?
I have not.
Are you aware of the forthcoming book about the guy that invented Bitcoin? The mysterious
Mr. Nakamoto?
Yeah.
Nakamoto.
Oh, yeah. Definitely familiar with that.
That forthcoming book?
Yeah, forthcoming book.
He wrote that.
Oh, okay.
Well, I gave him my tar rug.
Yeah, you've told me this story a few times.
And
it scares me.
And I don't know, I reached out recently, just to make sure it wasn't in some storage unit. And I'm like, hey, while I got you, how's that tar rug? Sitting right here in my office. Love it.
I kind of told you that he likes it, so you're not getting it back anytime soon.
Yeah, because if he said, "Oh, it's in the storage unit," I would have gotten it back. Yeah. But he still likes it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wanted to do that, but when I was talking with Zane, I'm like, hey, like, would that be okay? Like, I don't know because they're pretty connected with those guys. Are pretty connected with those animals. Like, they have like honorable ways of doing things, and so I was like, hey, what would be like the best way to kind of like just honor this animal? Like, what would you do with this thing? And he's like, well, honestly, I'd shoulder mount it. Like, I think a shoulder mount a good shoulder mount is a good representation of like this animal. And he goes, not a lot of people do the rug thing. He's like, it's not a bad way to do it. He goes, but like with yours, since my mane was so blonde, and he goes, like, if you rug it out, you're gonna cut through the middle of that, and then you're gonna flay it out, and it's not gonna look the same. So to kind of to kind of, I guess, capture the essence of that creature, he said shoulder mount. So that's what I did.
Where are you gonna hang it?
Right above my bed.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Right above the bed.
Watch this transition. Well, I can't transition out of your story.
Oh.
Is your story done?
Well, I don't.
Oh, one last question. Yeah. Is that Coetzel tire? Is it tuned up good? Playing good for you?
I don't know where that thing's at, to be honest.
It's not. It's not playing good right now.
No. Huh? What is that? The transition?
No. There's a follow-up question.
That's a.
So I don't have a transition out of that.
Okay.
But I'm going to do a thing, and then you'll see that it transitions into something else.
Okay.
I sent Corinne an article the other day. It's actually a tragedy.
Right, but it's hard.
There's a man. There's
chuckle.
a guy in Florida, and a law enforcement officer described his criminal history as This is a quote: meth arrest, meth arrest, meth arrest, meth arrest, meth arrest.
So he does some meth.
Yeah,
So,
doesn't leave a lot to the imagination.
Think I know where the story's going.
He had some kind of psychotic break.
Meth will do
Swam
that.
a lake like law enforcement was after him. He like swam a lake and gets attacked by an alligator in the lake.
Undeterred.
Comes out. I think they tried to tase him.
Didn't work. He was unbothered by that.
So
bite
here
on
he's
his
been
arm.
attacked by an alligator in his arm.
Shrugged it off.
Well,
Yep.
they ended up having to kill the guy.
Yeah, because he tried to take the firearms off.
What did
law
they do to the
enforcement
alligator?
agents, and they shot him.
There's no follow-up about the alligator.
Yeah.
It's a great question.
Thank you.
Impressive that he managed to
I really-
get free.
Well, that
Can't
you wanna
imagine
know
it was
what
that big.
Right.
You know, I know what the headline is. Bitten by alligator. Man is killed after charging at deputies, sheriff says.
Huh.
Then, the authorities say that Timothy Scholes, 42 of Mulberry, Florida, swam across an alligator-filled lake before a violent encounter with deputies in the neighborhood. Most guys, that's going to take the fight out of them.
Yeah, I would think so.
Mhm.
I would think so.
I messaged back that I thought he was on bath salts or something. I think, or just there's something real strong to, you know.
Yeah.
My guess is
He's on.
meth.
Yeah.
Something strong.
Based on, I don't know, based on previous history.
Right.
He was trying to
Why
get
would
a
he switch up
shotgun
the
out
shot?
of a cop car.
Yeah, that'll get you shot.
Yep.
Yeah.
But the main gist of the article is that you get into a lake and get attacked by a gator and come out fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Kinda
but
juiced him up.
I mean-
Altered state for sure.
that's not impressive if you're on meth. I
I
don't.
didn't know. That's not the word I'm looking for. I mean, just like it's extraordinary as evidenced by the fact that it was reported.
Yeah.
You follow
Well, it's
me?
notable. It'd be tough to
I
gloss over
got
that.
you.
Story.
Call that
You
newsworthy.
see that like an article like that catches a fellow's eye.
Yeah.
Reported in the New York Times.
Yeah, but like in my mind, once you read about it, you're like, oh, he's on meth. He's not just like.
Mm-hmm.
It just kind of doesn't make it seem as cool.
I don't know that cool is something I would apply to this situation at all.
I had my cool chart out. And I was trying to figure out where to plot
I need
this.
I need to press in
More
on
or
this.
less cool.
So Seth, just to get into your head here,
Yeah. Let's do it.
it winds up that this guy is stone cold sober. Stone cold, 10 a.m. Monday morning.
Yeah.
Gets attacked by a gator and then tries to kill some cops. You'd put that like if you
No. This is just the gator thing.
Oh, okay.
Like you said about how you just shrugged off a gator attack.
Oh, just the ability to shrug off a gator
Yeah.
attack, stone cold
That's what
sober.
you made
Yeah.
it sound like. That's what was like interesting to you about this.
Can't have been very big of a gator.
I don't. But
A guy shrugging off a gator attack on meth is not that impressive to me. Doesn't seem that cool.
no, I understand.
The whole cop thing's not cool.
I understand.
Yeah, it's like
I don't really
he's
know how I feel about
supercharged
it
by
anymore.
Although
meth.
the cops won.
So if the guy's
That's cool.
supercharged by meth and doesn't feel that his arm has been bitten by a gator, that is less surprising that he would shrug it off or
Mhm.
not even be all there to experience it versus if a guy were sober and would, you know.
See, when I first read this, I thought it was about a man. Then I started thinking it was about a gator. Now
then
I'm
it
starting to
ended
think
up-
it's about a
yeah.
drug.
Yeah.
And you know where my head's going? You know where my head's going next? And this is the sad part, and this is like why stories like this are always hard, is like somewhere is a heartbroken mother.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll tell you one other thing.
With
If it
that-
had been a Nile
Transition.
No, if it had been a Nile crocodile, he wouldn't have.
That's a
He
good
wouldn't have got
transition.
out of the swamp.
Tell us
He
about
wouldn't have
that.
made it.
Tell us about that.
They're an entirely more ruthless species than a gator, as far as I can tell.
Give me some specs on a Nile crocodile.
Oh man, I mean they're massive creatures, and I think that from what I can tell, they're one of those things similar to like I think I've heard this about like bass, where over a certain size, for every inch they grow in length, they grow in girth.
Okay.
So the big ones are incredibly girthy. I mean, I shot a 14-footer one time, and kind of like you could barely sit on its back. It was so broad. We have one where you're going in Luganzo Game Reserve.
Reminds me of me.
Luganzo Game Reserve. There is a man-eating crocodile currently on the loose. His name's Badowewe, which in Kiswahili it would kind of translate to like not yet you, insofar as like he hasn't gotten you yet. Last year he ate 5 fishermen.
No.
Yeah. 5.
But how is he catching the people?
He follows their canoes and he waits till they get out to unload their fish in nets, and then he nails them.
Steve wants to go after him now.
He's killed 5 people.
5 last year. I don't know what the tally is now. I'll have to check in with the guys and see where we're at. But yeah, he's been absolutely terrorizing this village. I tried to get him. I think I saw him. I'm certain it was him because a big crocodile like that, they're quite territorial. I doubt there'd be another one of that size in the same area.
Mm-hmm.
But he wouldn't come to my bait. He was too cagey. Too clever.
Huh.
So wait, what's like the process? Is hunters are just like keeping an eye out for him and like they see him, shoot him, or like, what's like the plan to?
So, well, first off, we weren't really aware of his existence until we did a kind of river-based anti-poaching patrol, which we do frequently, but we kind of pushed it into some areas where we hadn't done one in a while. And as a process, we caught some kind of guys violating the fishing laws. And, you know, while they were kind of detained, our guys got to chatting with them and they sort of were telling this story about this particular man-eating croc. And so that kind of piqued my interest, and I wanted to hunt him.
Can you just to help me understand this whole thing? Can you describe like what is the village and how is it positioned, and what is the sort of like vibe in the village?
Yeah, so it's on the edge of the game reserve, so it's in our hunting area, but it's outside of the boundaries of the game reserve itself. So there's an old German railway that kind of goes between the game reserve and Ugala National Park. And then that kind of crosses a bridge, and where that crosses a bridge, there's a village there. It's a fishing village. You know, the people there's a little bit of agriculture and some other stuff going on.
And what are they netting there?
They're netting anything and everything, but primarily the species are lungfish, catfish, and tilapia.
Okay. So they're netting them for commercial market, not just personal use.
Combination of both.
Okay.
So they subsist off them, and then they dry and kind of smoke the surplus.
Yeah.
And then that gets transported to other kind of population centers where it's sold.
Got it. How many people are in a village like that?
I would guess there's in that one 1,500, 2,000.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it's a good number of people.
I got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
And so they kind of they go up and down the river. There's portions of the game reserve waters that they're not supposed to be in that they occasionally kind of violate. And there's laws about the size of nets they can use, the types of nets they can use, the kind of the amount of nets and hooks they can deploy and stuff like that.
So it's pretty like what would be recognizable to an American about
it's a controlled fishery.
Fishing regulations.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. They require a permit to fish. So they have to actually go and purchase a fishing permit that gives them a window of time in which they're allowed to fish.
Yep.
So it's a controlled fishery, and we work together with TAWA, Tanzania Wildlife Management Authority, to kind of keep tabs on that fishery and how it's going and how it's impacting species. And it's an important ecosystem. There's obviously the crocodiles there, which are an important species. The fish, the birds. There's African clawless otter in that waterway as well. Which
Never even heard of that.
Oh, beautiful.
Can I tell you a thing that I'm worried about that someone told me? Someone told me. I'm going to get back to this crocodile, but what you just mentioned, that like clawless otter.
Mm-hmm.
Someone told me that when you go to Africa for the first time, you're so like overwhelmed and exhausted from the mental
Just processing
overwhelm
everything.
that you lose it. That you lose that, like you lose everything that's in the moment because you're so like tripped out.
I could see that.
And they're like, only later when I got home was I like
able to kind of
because they're like I was just overwhelmed.
Yeah, it will be nice because you'll be documenting it, so you'll be able to revisit a lot of that, which is cool. But I think I can see that. I mean, I can see there's certainly times, or even me, just the wonder of it all. Just. It gets you. I mean,
how big's a clawless otter?
I would say roughly the size of our kind of the North American
river
otter. Yeah,
okay.
yeah, about that size.
So back to this crocodile.
So we found out about him. The way we typically hunt crocodile, you can certainly have like sort of incidentally, like you'll be driving along the river or walking along the river, and you'll see a sandbar or like a termite mound or something close to the river where they'll have slid up on and be kind of sunning themselves. And then you can kind of make a stalk and try and position yourself for a shot like that. A lot of times we'll put bait. So we'll drive some kind of heavy stakes into the riverbank if there's not a tree or a rock or something to anchor to, and put some stinking meat there to draw them in. The big advantage of that is you can really control where you put it. Because the problem with a crocodile, unless you make the perfect shot that destroys its central nervous system like instantly, one flick of that tail, if that gets them back into the main stem of the river where there's flow, and these rivers, the Ugala River has significant flow, it's gone.
He's gone.
You'll never find it.
So you hit him where? Right in the brain or
right
at the
in
base?
The brain. Yeah, you try to sort of we call it like their smile, where they're kind of their jawline kind of goes like this, just above that, and kind of between this little horn on their head. You sort of try to shoot them there, and it kind of, if you do it correctly, it really pops their skull open. I mean, it's quite visceral. But then they'll flick around a little bit, but they won't.
But they're cached.
They're done. Yeah, they're done. And then whereas there are times when you can, if you miss that shot, like a neck shot, something like that, where you fail to sever the spine, or you hit them somewhere else, they're going to just flick right back into that deep water, and you'll never find them, even if they die. Just get swept away.
So when you bait him, are you trying to get him the moment he finds it, or is he going to start hitting the bait?
He'll start hitting the bait.
Okay.
So you need to have a good look at him. I mean, there's two ways when you've got a big croc coming. I mean, one, you just the sort of size and scale of it. I find it very hard to judge them through binoculars. I've got to kind of look with my eyes, so you don't want to be too far away for that reason. Also, your shot, you've got to put it in a little slot like that, sort of 3-inch by 3-inch. So
top of a single serving yogurt container.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what we're talking about. Yeah. So you want to be closer for that. But aside from that, when oftentimes you'll put these baits and you'll get a lot of small crocs on them. There'll be 5, 6, 7, sometimes 10, like anywhere from 6-footers, 8-footers down to 3, 4-footers, kind of splashing around, making a lot of noise, tearing this bait apart. But when the big boy's coming, like they can sense it, whether they make vibrations or vocalizations in the water, something like that. These crocs split. The little ones will
one big man
evaporate, and then you'll see this sort of head come up. They have like this big, that's like a tennis ball on the end of their nose, and then you'll usually let them sort of get comfortable, drag themselves out of. Ideally, you have the bait where they have to sort of drag themselves out of the water a little bit to kind of expose that shot.
Yeah.
But God, that's impressive. A big
so,
croc.
and those waterways, is it inadvisable just to be down wading around on the edge?
You can do it. I mean, there's areas like it just depends on how the water looks, right? If you've got sort of a bit of a shallow flat, you can splash around there a little bit.
He's not there.
Yeah, you'd see him coming. You'd have to make a wake. But like, if there was a big pool, I wouldn't go near it. I mean, he could be just waiting there in ambush. You'd have a hard time seeing him. You won't know till he's got a hold of you. And they move like lightning too.
What are you shooting those things with? Like what rifle?
Whichever one you shoot the best.
Are you using a scoped rifle?
Yeah, a scoped rifle's ideal. Yeah, whatever you shoot. I mean, typically, we'll sometimes when you're sneaking up on them, you'll be following buffalo tracks by the river, and it's like, hey, there's a massive croc on that sandbar, and the guy's got his 416. That's what you're shooting it with.
Gotcha.
But in an ideal world, like where I had all the time in the world to set it up, kind of build my blind, get everything staged, 30-06, 300 Win Mag, 7mm, that type of stuff does the job. Again, with that brain shot, you're not trying to kind of achieve penetration. You're just trying to pop that brain open.
Talk about shot placement on a Cape buffalo.
I am a firm proponent of the shoulder shot. So kind of come up that leg about a third of the way, third of the way up the body from the belly line, and put it right on the shoulder there.
On the shoulder?
On the bone, not behind the shoulder, on the bone. Break that shoulder.
On the bone.
And this is something that's changed. There'll be some of the old school guys will very much disagree with me, and I would argue that their thinking is rooted in a different era where high quality bullets weren't available.
Yeah.
There was just a lot of junk. And so one would always try to shoot behind the shoulder to make sure that you got adequate penetration. Now, if you're shooting something along the lines of a Barnes TSX, Swift A-frame, that type of stuff, it'll more than adequately penetrate that shoulder bone. And then you break them down. They don't go as far. It's a lot of trauma. A busted shoulder is really going to slow them down.
Hitting them right in the shoulder.
Right in the shoulder. Everything.
Below the scapula. Or
below the scapula. Yeah, sort of somewhere near that joint, somewhere where that scapula kind of joins on to the other bone there.
Let's say he's quartering away from you.
Quartering away from you, you're going to... So what I like to talk about, imagine you have X-ray vision.
Yep.
And so if you can't break the onside shoulder,
shoot the other one.
Shoot the offside shoulder.
What if he's coming dead on nuts?
Dead on. It depends on how he's holding his head, but when they typically if they're a little bit curious, they won't, they've seen something, they'll kind of hold their head in a fairly neutral position. It's not too up, it's not too down, unless sometimes if they'll be laying under some vegetation, kind of in the shade, and they'll stand up, and to see you, they'll have to sort of dip their head to see under the vegetation.
Yep.
In that instance, it can be tough, but typically I sort of just go right below the chin, kind of you're trying to get it into this kind of clavicle gap.
And that's
here.
not inadvisable.
It's not my favorite, but sometimes if it's that or nothing, right? If you've got to make that shot. But I'll tell you one thing about that shot: when it's done properly, it really rocks their world. Yep. So if they don't react to how I would expect them to, that'll be a time where I'd consider backing up, because what can happen with that shot, if it's off, it'll kind of hit the sternum, which on those things is sort of like a very V-shaped and obviously extremely robust piece of bone with a lot of sort of sagging skin hanging on it. And what that can do, the sagging skin will kind of set up the bullet so it really mushrooms quicker than it would on a sort of a taut flank.
Yep.
And then it will hit that sternum and kind of go along, sort of track along the sternum and wind up kind of in the armpit, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Having done no damage to the vitals. You'll get some blood, you follow that thing forever. And it's a bad deal. So I don't love the frontal shot, but it's not off the table. It's not like we never do that. It's something that sometimes you got to make it happen.
And no Texas heart shots.
On a follow-up shot, yes.
Okay.
No, as a first shot, absolutely not. But as a follow-up,
take a stab.
The old Portuguese brain shot.
I've never heard that one.
Imagine it's running away, Corinne.
That's why it's important to travel and meet people from other cultures.
So,
because you learn about shot placement.
What's better?
That's what I was telling my kids. You always want to be able to travel. You want to travel the world. Learn about shot placement.
What's better on that follow-up, though, if they do spin and turn away, than your classic Texas heart shots, try to break that hip.
So on a follow-up, once you make your first careful shot, is any shot good?
Give it to it. Absolutely.
Any shot is good.
Yeah, you didn't come all the way. So, to your previous point about those other guys with 2 shots on a bison was considered good. I don't have any. The more the merrier.
Got it.
If it's still on its feet, keep shooting. And then also for, reasons like those guys experienced where it's, as I said, the dead ones will kill you will oftentimes go up, even if it's looking thoroughly deceased. Put another one in there as insurance.
And then is there any situation where you ever tell a client, like the animal's fine, so it's not wounded, where you're shooting it in the head?
I have had situations like that before. It's extremely close. You just, for whatever reason, again, mostly in that montane forest, one kind of stands up and all you can see is the head kind of above the vegetation. And it's like, yeah, you're going to have to go for a headshot here. If you can do it, if you feel comfortable, go for it. And again, if you get it right, it's going to have an instant result. Otherwise, I'm going to have to back you up.
Yep. You know what I didn't realize is standard, and this doesn't bother me, but it's standard that when you wound an animal, that's it. That's your, like, effectively you tag the animal if you wound it, get away.
Yeah.
And there are units there's a bear unit in Alaska, for instance. Like if you touch it,
right?
If you touch the bear and don't find it, it's still regarded as that was your bear.
You burned your tag.
And in Africa, like
that's absolutely how we operate.
You take a bad shot or get a bad hit, that's you scratched your ticket.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it. That one's off your license, and we write it down as wounded, lost. Very sad thing to have to do. So a lot of things.
So a lot of my
job, is to mitigate that.
Just be cautious, man.
Be cautious. Yeah, if it doesn't feel right. And again, the beautiful thing about Africa, and especially where we're going, these premium areas like in Tanzania, it's not like you like, oh, that was your buffalo. We saw one for the 2-week trip and you fluffed it. It's like, no, we'll get another chance. Yeah. If this one runs off, we'll find another one. There's more. There's plenty.
Do you guys use the term Daga boys? Can you explain that to me? I feel like you mentioned that to me.
Yes, we do. We do use that term.
Say it again.
Dugga boy. Dugga. So it's a
Dugga boy.
So the term Dugga is it's a Southern African term. It's a Southern African term. Well, it's a bastardization of a word in one of the Southern African kind of Bantu languages, which it refers to mud. And the reason
that's what it is, Dugga boys. Mud.
And so the old bull buffalo that are in their kind of bachelor phase, or they're in a permanent bachelor phase, as sometimes is the case, they like to wallow. They spend a good, Cape buffalo are a wallowing animal. They enjoy it. They like to. It helps them keep biting flies away. It keeps their skin healthy. So they're wallowers. They love it. And oftentimes you'll see those old bulls will spend a good amount of time wallowing, and they'll be really crusted with mud.
Got it.
So that's the origin of the term.
It's the mud boys.
Yeah, it's one of those terms like safari, which is very much a Swahili term, but it's become kind of ubiquitous throughout the continent. Dugga boy will be used to describe an old bull buffalo, kind of wherever you go.
And your plan, like we talked about this before, but your plan is you guys don't get on the big old herds. Generally you're looking for like male little squads, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever.
Yeah.
Little bachelor gangs.
Bachelor bulls. Yeah, that's the ideal. I mean, we'll definitely we'll follow some herds and we'll get up on them for the experience of that, particularly early on in the hunt. And there are times where, particularly in Luganzo, because it has a big river and a big lake. So what I find happens there, more so than other areas I've seen, is that a lot of buffalo will kind of congregate there. Bachelor bulls and herds will kind of be gravitating towards the same areas to drink and kind of feed on that floodplain.
They're not together, but
they're not together, but they're drawn to the same area, and they'll kind of often like leave together. So they'll kind of mingle. So I have found more consistently than other places I've hunted in Luganzo, you'll find like a really old buffalo or couple of really old buffaloes with a herd, but it's a sort of loose, casual association, and they'll break off and sort of peel off eventually. Yeah. So we'll spend some time mixing it up with herds for the experience. And again, part of what I like to do is give you that opportunity to really feel that species versus kind of just looking at the back of my shirt for however many days, and then I put the sticks up and say that's the one. Like we'll really try to get in amongst them and sort of see how that, just feel it, just enjoy their presence and kind of get a sense of the species. But yeah, the one I want to shoot I'm almost guaranteeing will be in a bachelor herd.
And how do you know a shooter when you see? Like, what do you see where you're like, that is a shooter?
Hard boss. So the way the buffalo's horns grow, you've got obviously that kind of bone core with the horn, like the keratin sheath on the outside. And in a mature bull, it kind of grows from the outside in. So on a young bull, and then you'll see this very clearly when you're looking at them through your binoculars, the kind of what we call the boss, which is where the horns kind of come together over the top of their head, over that kind of honeycombed bone that protects their brain. It'll be still sort of vascular and soft and pulpy, even like a little bit of hair growing out of it on a young bull. A fully mature bull, that will have completely hardened into horn. And there may be a strip of hair or a strip of kind of flesh or skin down through the middle of the horns. Not all of them fully meet in the middle. Some do, some don't. That's not like a determining factor of age or anything like that. It's just like a genetic thing. Some do, some don't. But yeah, we want a fully mature, a hard-bossed bull that's worn down, ideally some of its horn, and yeah, is just that right one to take.
And how wide is he tip to tip?
Depends. The best one I shot last year was 42 inches, sort of from widest point to widest point.
It's like a moose, dude.
Yeah, they're wide. But I've seen them there. I had a client last year that was a bow hunter, and we didn't manage to get on this buffalo, but we put a stalk on one that I would have conservatively put at like 44.
Is he still around?
Oh yeah,
you know where he is?
Got him. A general idea, the vicinity.
You hearing this, Randall?
We'll give it a crack, Steve.
What's this doing for you, Randall? What's all this doing for you?
I mean, I've always had I've always been really curious about Africa. I think just for the sense of like wonder, like you described, just like the smell and the soil and the plants, and just seeing animals. But yeah, I guess what it's doing for it's inspiring quite a bit of jealousy in me. Envy.
That's reasonable.
It is.
Yeah.
Reasonable position to take.
Mm-hmm.
So you're interested?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We almost we're at the Montana Wild Sheep Banquet. We were overserved and almost went in on a safari with our friends.
Where was it?
The one in Bozeman. Oh, the safari? Yeah. I have no idea.
You were almost bidding on it?
We did bid on it.
What country?
He doesn't know. That's not a good start.
Well, the first text message I saw on my phone the next morning was, "I'm glad we didn't wake up as the owners of a safari."
Got it.
Yeah, but it's always something that's kind of like, you got a couple little voices in the back of your head about things that you'd like to do someday, and yeah, I definitely have the itch.
Oh, dude, I'm like
bid on it next time.
Well, let's talk about it first.
I did not wake up with that feeling.
Send me the details. Shoot me a text. Yeah. I'll give you the inside scoop on whether it's going to be something you.
Morgan, I hope you can reply quickly because I'm in the middle of a drunken. I'm in the middle of a drunken bidding process.
Is it worth it?
I just wanted to fact check a couple things.
Yeah, I'll set a couple guardrails for you.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think like especially just the history and sort of the place of African hunting within our larger hunting traditions, like globally. I think it's something that I definitely like to experience and understand better.
Yeah, I'm dying to go check it out.
Mm-hmm.
And like with me though, the thing is, of course you can just go check it out, but I need more. I need like the immersive, I need to get in there,
The immersion is the thing, the totality of it, like the history, the flora, the fauna, the culture, the people. That's what makes African hunting, I think, unique. Aside from the species and the conduct of the whole hunt, right? All that's a separate thing. But if you just think about like the appeal of it, why it kind of gets people so much, it's just the totality of it, all that kind of history and culture.
Yeah,
I think we also get to highlight the differences between hunting across certain countries in Africa, and that like the experience in Tanzania, I anticipate will be very different than, for example,
wherever I
hunt
would
that
have
we
gone.
bid on. Yeah, in South Africa.
I'd
right,
actually
which-
bet on
which
it.
feels
I'd
very
say
different.
that's a fair. Yeah, for sure. I think so. I think East Africa has that reputation, and certainly I don't want to take anything away from like. There's some amazing hunting that happens in Southern Africa, Central Africa, French, Francophone, West Africa. There's some incredible hunting experiences that can be had kind of across the continent. But I think East Africa kind of holds a certain place in people's imaginations because of that history and because of the kind of like the way that it was the birthplace of a lot of the kind of conservation ideals and hunting ethics ideals and sort of I think it's just it's where your brain goes when you think of safari.
I got a last question for you. How are we doing, Phil? Phil's real worried about everybody getting out of here.
We got 10
We're
minutes.
good.
We're good.
Okay, you got 10 minutes to answer this question.
Lay it on me.
Let's say I'm over in Europe and some guy's like, I'm going deer hunting in America.
Mm-hmm.
No, not that. I'm going deer hunting in North America. First thing on my mind is, well, that could mean any number of things.
Sure, yeah.
Are you hunting in South Florida?
Yeah.
Are you hunting in Northern Alberta? Like, what do you mean?
Mm.
So, how different are, like, you know what I mean? You're going hunting in Africa.
Yeah.
It's a big ass place.
Big ass place.
Like, how different is it all? Do you know what I mean?
Very, very
Is
different.
it would it seem as different to someone there as it would seem to be from Florida to Alberta?
100%.
Is that right? Okay.
If I would have that exact same reaction if I met someone in an airport bar and they're like, I'm on my way to Africa to go on safari, hunting safari, I'd be like, where are you going and what I'd have some
You've told me
preconceived
nothing.
ideas.
Yeah.
Right.
But precisely. You've told me nothing. I mean, I think if I kind of boil it down to like why Tanzania is different and where we're going is different, is what sort of sets us apart is that free range, those big, vast areas. There's no fences.
That's what drew me in, is the big, huge country.
Expanse of it. And again, I think we talked about it. This is on the last podcast. Tanzania's got roughly 30% of its landmass set aside as wilderness of some sort. Some of it's got some grazing and seasonal agricultural activities. Other parts of it, like where we're going in Luganzo, is just pure wilderness. But it's a massive amount by modern standards. It's a massive, massive amount of wilderness there. And to be able to hunt those species in an unfenced environment where they're not a reintroduced animal, they're or purely introduced animal, that's ancestral stock. That's as wild as they get.
That book I was being slightly critical of?
Yeah.
Thunder Without Rain?
Mm-hmm.
I was being a little too harsh on it.
Yeah.
Because what it did explain is when that cattle disease came.
Oh, rinderpest? Yeah.
Rinderpest came and then jumped into the Cape Buffalo and just decimated the Cape Buffalo.
Them. Yeah. Crushed them. Yeah.
He spends a lot of time on rinderpest.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a
and
big thing.
the famine that emerged from first the famine of people that were herders, that were cattle
got flattened, yeah.
But then also the famine that extended to other people that had been hunters and just wiped them out.
Yeah, it's
he's
nearly,
like that more than hunting.
Oh yeah,
rinderpest,
massive for sure. Of all the things that set back game, I don't think rinderpest. I think rinderpest is one of two diseases that humanity's successfully eliminated altogether.
Okay.
Like completely, we're free of it. And so it's that and smallpox. Rinderpest, I think right up until the 50s was like an issue in East Africa. But
it's a great name for a disease.
It is, from German, cattle disease. And so it when it first came in, I think it's almost 100% like fatal in species that are naive as far as being inoculated to it. But over time, obviously, you gain natural immunity, and then there was efforts made by the veterinary departments in what at those times were colonies to kind of mitigate it. But it hammered the population of buffalo. But the also interesting thing that you can kind of glean from the rinderpest epidemic is that those animals came back, in vast numbers because the habitat was intact.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. If you have these sort of massive wipeouts of species, it's something that's happened throughout history as a result of climate or whatever. If the habitat's intact, there's an option, there's a possibility for them to come back, as long as you've got some kind of genetic reservoir.
Yeah.
But if you destroy the habitat, you're done.
Yeah,
so it's remarkable how robust and resilient these species are in the face of things like rinderpest, if the habitat's there.
Here's my actual last question. What's a big group to run into?
Oh, of Cape Buffalo? Yeah. It depends very much on the area. In Luganzo, I would say a big herd would be 60 to 80.
Okay.
Just because of the terrain. And kind of like, and the environment, the lion population. But there are certain areas like, in Mozambique, even southern Tanzania, I've seen some really massive herds. But, where you get like big sort of floodplain areas where there'll be hundreds and hundreds of them out there.
Now, when we're out knocking around, are we going to run into lions?
Almost certainly. Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Almost certainly.
How do
They're
you
there
feel
all the
about
time.
that, Seth?
Sickly Seth. He'll be sick.
I don't. What's it like? Are they like grizzly bears here? Where you got to watch out for them if you run into them, or just like?
Generally speaking, no. Sometimes they'll put on a little bit of a performance, but generally these ones, they'll sort of slink off. They'll if they've got a kill nearby, they might be a little more reluctant to leave, and they'll kind of like they'll posture a little bit. But you're very unlikely to have an issue with them. In that context of like bumping into them somewhere.
What about snakes?
I would be surprised. We may see them, but more often than not, like I would say, in all my time in Africa, 85% or more of the snakes I've seen have been like on the road sunning themselves.
Gotcha.
And you sort of drive by and it's like, oh, there's a cobra.
Do you guys got that one where you're supposed to just lean against a tree and die because there's nothing you can do about it?
Yeah. Black mamba. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
You run into those often?
Yeah, not often. It's uncommon, but you'll see them again.
Seth, it's so bad. The best thing you can do is just lean against a tree. Like you ain't gonna live. Is that true?
Is
that not true?
It is. So yes and no. So
like
they
if you
have
get bit by one.
I'll tell you.
Just lean against a tree.
I'll tell you
done
two
for.
You don't have a
stories
chance.
about black mambas, which and we can leave it at that. But it's uncommon to see them.
Okay.
And again, usually it's that same thing. You'll see them from the car. They'll kind of be beside the road, and they'll
Do you pester them when you see them?
No, we typically leave them alone. One time I was in the Sulu. I was in southern Tanzania, and we were following buffalo with a client, and there's this kind of little depression, like this little valley that had tall grass in it, 7-8 foot tall grass. And we, based on the freshness of the buffalo tracks that we were following, the trackers and I had a little conference and sort of determined that they likely weren't in that tall grass. Like they'd passed, it wasn't that big of an area. They'd kind of passed through it and gone and bedded down somewhere in the Miombo, like in the woodland. So we were pretty confident in being able to just sort of pass through it. So we're pretty casually like going through this tall grass, sort of following these trails that the buffalo and elephants and other stuff had made through there. And I'm just sort of fairly not totally asleep at the wheel, but sort of just going along. And next thing, like the two trackers they went around a little sort of corner in the grass in front of me to where I couldn't fully see them. Next thing, they both just sort of like evaporate, just like gone. They just like flew past me, like not a word said, just like disappeared. And I'm like, oh no, the buffalo are in here. So I sort of pick up my rifle, safety off. But normally with buffalo in that kind of context, like it'd be a cow with a calf or something, and you'd hear them. Like a lot of times they'll vocalize. But you'd hear them crashing around. It was like silent. A couple seconds later, this black mamba sort of reared up to like just below my eye level, kind of comes around the corner in the grass.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, this thing was thick. It was sort of probably like diameter, I don't know, like 4 or 5 inches. So it was like a thick snake, big snake. I couldn't see the full length of it, but it was really reared up, and they really rear up, which is why they so deadly, because they'll strike you in areas that you can't put like a tourniquet, like you'll be. So I just pulled my front trigger, and I still can't tell you to this day whether I hit that thing or not, but I'm sure the muzzle blast from like that distance rattled its cage, and I just turned around, grabbed the client, just ran, just got out of there.
Because they'll come at you.
Yeah, they will. I mean, they do. What the guys said later was he was like just curled up on the trail, and when they kind of like got up on him, like he sort of got agitated, right? Like he felt like he was being accosted, and he sort of reared up and sort of came towards them. And then he was probably just more or less curious as to what had happened, and kind of came around that corner and got a face full of Nitro Express.
Yeah, I'd like to see one of them get a hold of Seth, man.
But I also heard a story about
one at all.
That's Public Enemy #1 right now.
I also heard a story about a young Maasai boy that was bitten by one in Maasai land, and there's this wonderful place not far from Arusha called Meserani Snake Park. We'll actually drive by it. Where they have a bunch of snakes. Yeah, it sounds grim, but it's really cool.
Like
they have a bunch of snakes, and they have a clinic where they extract venom and they do all the stuff there, and they treat. Pretty much, they're the hub for all of northern Tanzania for like snake bite victims.
Got it.
And so the other kids that this Maasai boy was with recognized that he'd been bitten by a mamba. So they kind of managed to get him to a road where they flagged down a guy on a motorbike. And they got him on the motorbike, and they all took off their belts and kind of belted him to the guy because they knew he was going to pass out. I mean, he was on the verge of passing out. And he passed out somewhere along the journey. They got him to Meserani. They gave him the treatment, the antivenom, and apparently, like a couple days later, he was fine.
Really?
Yeah, happy
so he
as a
can
clam.
survive.
Happy as a clam. The only injury he had, like that was, kind of sucked, was when he passed out. Like one of his feet had kind of dragged along the blacktop.
Oh,
like he's got serious road rash, but he was fine. So I'm not going to say it's 100% fatal, but yeah, if we're out there in Luganzo, we definitely want to avoid those things. But I'd be surprised.
Seth's going to have 2 huge belts on now.
Yeah. So he can just belt you to
Steel-toed boots.
Sounds like it's up to Steve. I just don't come home from this trip.
Well, again, the snake boots aren't going to help you. The snake boots aren't going to help you.
No, just for the dragging your feet behind the motorbike.
There you go. Yeah. Well, and the other thing about them that's kind of spooky is they're like semi-arboreal. They'll go up trees. And so there are guys that have been bitten like from above.
Right down the top of his head, right through his little hat.
Seth's not going to have a good time.
Right through his Eteria head.
No, we won't. I'd be surprised if we see one. If we do, it'll be cool because we'll be from the car and we can all go ooh ah and not have to worry about getting bitten.
I'm like, go poke him, Seth.
Nope.
Touch it. Go worry him.
Nope.
All right.
Wait, before we
Oh,
end,
it's gonna wrap up.
We just got to say that your dream will come true because we will have a handful of bonus episodes dropping. Just a couple of we'll have a lot of fwops.
How do you spell FWAP?
FWAP.
Don't look at me.
We'll think about it. It looks good. We'll call them all FWAP.
FWAP. 1, 2,
FWAP
3.
2.
Yep. We'll have a bunch of FWAPs while we're in country. Turned around, within a matter of days. Podcast, video.
Stevie Hemingway goes there.
Yeah, exactly.
Short, happy life.
Tuesdays and Thursdays for a few weeks. So you can stay tuned for those.
No, I can't wait, dude. I cannot
be
wait.
fantastic.
You're there now.
Yeah. I'm there now. I'm getting excited, man. I want to see them snakes. Thanks for coming out, man.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I
Looking
can't
forward
wait.
to being in the bush with you. We're going to have a hell of a time.
No, I think it's going to be fun.
I'll guarantee
Chili,
that.
congratulations on your hunt.
Thank you, sir.
Phil, we're getting out of your hair.
Thank you, sir.
We're only 7 minutes overdue. My boy's calling me. Oh, no, I can't tell that. I got a funny story about my kid, but I'll tell it later. Nothing to do with our subject matter. All right, guys. Thank you.